What is going on, Pretender here, back with another Honkai startup video, and today I'm here with a different, more yearly type of video that I do plan on doing. As we do see here, the total days of logging in now has slightly exceeded 2 years, so the 2 year at going over my account, what I do and do not regret and such. I did the same thing last year for when I did hit 1 year login. As we do see, we're 2 days above it. As you're watching this video, it will be a day extra because I'm recording it a day in advance. But yeah, so I'm going to go through the actual characters, the Eidolons, and what I regret, what I had fun with, and so on. Just more of a fun, chill video. So yeah, before I get to the video, drop a like, drop a sub, hit the bell for more videos like this, and let's get straight into it. I'll honestly start back here with the 4 stars because I rarely use 4 stars, so I want to talk about like what I invested in all this time. So when it does come to using 4 stars, the real only one I do have built still is actually Tingyun. You know, just this build right here. I did get this from practically the really early points of me playing the game. Once I did get Tingyun, I never really updated her build. She just holds it as 5 DDD, and then this is the build she does have. I don't really use Tingyun anymore, and I really don't use any actual 4 star anymore. What I did have built, I did this thing, which I don't recommend anyone to do this, by the way, but for newer characters, I did destroy old characters' relics. I know now with the buffs, I still shouldn't have done that, but personally, I don't really care. If I really care about the characters' buffs, I would go ahead and refarm them. So I do have like a built Guanifan. That's just because I really loved Guanifan, and I got really unlucky pulling her. Obviously now she's E6, but she was one of the other 4 stars I used. You know, Danheng I kind of just had as a meme, so whatever I do when to use them, I'll give them some relics that are good. Lynx I used for a long time back when the game did come out, or at least when she was released, you know, a few days, you know, Blade released, I did use her as a sustain for the taunt. And I actually don't really use anyone else. I never really used Pela, I never did Asta setups. On my main account at least, obviously I've tested like practically every unit in the game a lot. But on my own account, when it comes to build-wise, like I never even built Gallagher. I've never really used Natasha. Moze, I did get him up, but I didn't end up ever using him. Same with March 7th. But yeah, now for the actual 5 stars. So Danheng, he was one of the few characters I never got the Lycon for, and I also didn't go for E2. He did come out back when I didn't really spend too much on the game, but yeah, now it's different obviously. Definitely a character I don't regret picking up because he was really fun. You know, he was one of the few characters that I do unfortunately destroyed the relics of. Thankfully, I do have other pieces, so like a lot of these characters I can just swap other characters that I'm not using to put on them if I want to do something. But Danheng, definitely don't regret, was great. Fushuan, you know, I got her E1 on her original banner, have her Lycon, but recently I did destroy her relics, as I practically will never use her again. But for the longest time, she was a great use. Once Aventurine came out, she practically just kind of like stopped being a use for me because every team I used was now Luocha and Aventurine. So past that, Fushuan was kind of whatever, but you know, for the first release, you know, this dupe back then, whoops, spoiler lol, but this dupe back then was great. Now it's like, why would you ever go for this? Back then, this was insane. You know, I tried to get E2, but I lost, so that was something. I'm not really gonna talk about the standard characters because, you know, they're kind of like a character you do get, but I do use Bronya. I still do use Bronya a good amount. I'm 1 away from E6, you know. She and Sparkle do kind of share relics, as I do use them both around the same level. Wolfo, she still does have her build. I don't really use sustains anymore, so by product, I don't really use Wolfo anymore, but when I did, definitely did cook. I didn't get her in original banner, and I did get her E1 S1 on her rerun, which was an insane patch that I did have. You know, I went for E2 S1 Yunli and E1 S1 Wolfo at the same time. I will say I do kind of regret going for the E1 and kind of the Lycon because I didn't really use Wolfo much. Like, obviously, what should be rad in like an update or two after I was using her, but you know, eventually later, kind of stopped using her. Haven't used her in a while. She doesn't really fit into any teams I do use, and the teams she would fit into, I just do sustainless. Great unit, but unfortunately for me, is just not working too much, so I kind of wish I didn't go for the E1 or the Lycon because I really just don't use them. And I'm gonna group these together, Kafka and Black Swan with their Lycons. As you see, I just destroyed the relics. I hate Dot. I actually just do not like using Dot. These were one of the few characters I did get out of FOMO when they were like, you know, broken back then. Black Swan came out, Dot was insane. And I just really found out I didn't like the playstyle at all. So like Dot characters, they are just something I don't like using. So getting the Kafka, getting her Lycon, getting Black Swan, her Lycon, and E1 because I was baited saying like, oh, you can actually use this E1 with Blade back then because I used to be a setup. I regret it so much. I am so glad I don't go for FOMO stuff like that, so I honestly really regret all of it. Jingwan, he was also one of the early cases of FOMO. Him and his Lycon, no dupes obviously, don't have his relics here because, you know, I never really used them to begin with. Past the beginning of the game, I used them for a bit, but I really did not ever use them past like 1.3. I did use them for a bit when Sunday came out because I wanted to see his power, and obviously very good with Sunday, but you know, ever since then, don't really care. So another character I actually do end up regretting. Hopefully the Lycon will see a use for me eventually. Standard character Acheron. So this is an interesting character. I did not originally plan on getting her E2. I just wanted to get E0S1, call it good. I'm a big Mei fan, but I don't really like Acheron as much. But the reason I don't necessarily regret getting the E2, because I was like, damn, this thing is overkill for me especially. I don't really use Acheron anymore because, you know, Aglia and such. But I still don't regret this just because Acheron E2 was my introduction into Zero Cycles. Before Acheron and Aventurine, I actually really didn't go for Zero Cycles. But it actually showed me the things you can do and how fun it could be to try to get a higher cycle and the level of damage you could do. And I was like, you know, with this money I'm spending, might as well try to push to the limits and try to get the best clears as possible. So Acheron was actually the introduction to Zero Cycles for me, which is why I actually don't regret getting her to E2. And she, by herself, is always a good unit just to have because of the technique, so good quality of life. Build hasn't been updated in ages. I never really went to the -1 build because I couldn't be asked. And yeah, you know, standard character, but I hate this guy. Hate this guy with everything he stands for. Yantrick, you're cool, but you suck, unfortunately. MC, do have the build, so that's something Himiko standard. Jiaoqiu! So this is a character I genuinely, and I mean this full-hearted as someone who used to defend him, I genuinely regret pulling this guy. As I mentioned, I don't really use Acheron anymore. Obviously, byproduct, I don't use Jiaoqiu because for any team I do want to use, he will never be the best. He was a unit I did end up pulling just because I was like, oh, I really do hope he ends up getting like a use outside of Acheron, but it really doesn't seem like that. I was like, oh, this is definitely gonna be something like it's good for Acheron now, but for the future, I believe, and now it's been, I don't even know how many updates. He came out on 2.4 and now we're on 3.3, so it's like, man, I tried, but I'm really not using you anywhere outside of Acheron for the rare times I do use her, so he is definitely one of the units I do unfortunately regret pulling. Linksha, so I don't really regret playing Linksha. You know, she does have a build, is 2B speed. I just don't have the piece on because I'm using it on someone else right now. Her Lycon, I don't regret it. Just because she was a great general sustain and she did help me out a lot before I really just went into full sustainless runs. Anytime I do use her now, she's great. I did want to get the E1, but when she rebanned was when I got into sustainless and I really didn't use her anymore. And the only break unit I really use is Boot Hill, and the Boot Hill team I use is sustainless, obviously, so I don't actually use Linksha on there. But anytime I do get to use Linksha on there, she does definitely perform well. Again, I do miss a piece here. She has hyper speed with that piece, more attack, more HP, all of that stuff. But yeah, overall, don't regret pulling her because she's a good general sustain, especially with her light cone. Standard banner, Argenti. So this was definitely one of my most crackhead moment pulls. So it was like roughly around his first rerun. I was like, oh my god, he saved Aventurine in the story. He's so goated. So I pulled him. That's quite literally the lore. He had a physical build, got rid of it obviously. Lycon I used was the actual QQ Lycon because I don't have him. He's one of the few characters I don't have the signature for. And obviously, no dupes. I just got him because he said Aventurine. I'm like, he's goated. Yes, sir. And yeah, he's not really seeing any use. And I honestly don't know why I did that. I regret it. It could have just been save pulls. I don't know what was wrong with me back then. Standard character, but he is my GOAT. He doesn't have relics, but I do have stuff I can put on him. New E6 too, so W. Luocha, so I definitely do not regret pulling Luocha. I still do use him sometimes to this day when I do need a healer. Very free to use, very easy to use. His Lycon is great. I had a great setup with him and Castress and Sunday, where thanks to his Lycon I can bring him up to breakpoint speed and also have a -1 Castress with Sunday. Thanks to this Lycon alone with that 12 speed, getting more energy per hit and also increasing his attack, this Lycon is fantastic. And him in general, just so good healing. I just wish he had good buffs. You know, I almost went for this E1 back when he did rerun in 2.1, but I did decide against it because this dupe is really, really bad. So overall, as a E0S1, he was a great investment. Feixiao free, so I'm not really going to talk about much here. He does have a build, it's just I'm using the pieces on other people right now, so yeah, ignore the thing, but I did get his Lycon because, you know, he's a free unit, so I might as well get his Lycon. His Lycon was great, and he was the introduction to my love for follow-up attacks, and that led into me getting E1 S1 Topaz for him. He paired so good with my Aventurine. Unfortunately, don't use him anymore just because of Feixiao, obviously, but anytime I do get to use him, he is really fun. Sunday, so obviously no regrets at all. E2S1, fantastic unit. Everywhere I use him, he is just the best. I was super hyped for Sunday when he was a character in Penacony and wasn't playable. I could not wait for him to be playable. And alas, he did end up becoming playable. Fantastic unit, insanely good Lycon, broken E1, and actually a pretty slept on E2. I don't regret getting this E2 at all. I don't regret any investment on him. I have a actual speed build on him right now. And I do have a -1, particularly for Noxa, where I just swap his boots to HP boots, and he has 135 speed. So, running him as -1, fantastic. Running him as hyper carry, great. It is. So, this guy also don't regret at all. He is so fun to use. I really wish I did get his E1 when he was out. Unfortunately, I don't think I'd use him more than I already do with this E1, which I don't really use him too much, but he's super fun to use. His Lycon's great, him as a character. is my second favorite Amphorius character. He is just super fun to use. You know, the setup with him at base speed, running 2 different hyperspeed characters, running a -1 build with Sunday. He's just so much fun. He does so much damage. Getting the satisfying animations when he goes into Vendetta is actually just undisputed peak. Absolutely great character. You know, maybe I will get his E1 when he does rerun, but we'll see. It really depends on when he reruns. Next up, we have Zele. So I do have a E2 S1 Zele. So this unit, definitely do not regret. I have multiple different build setups with her. Low crit rate, high crit rate, lower crit damage, high crit damage, base speed, hyper speed, because, you know, with the skill, she can go over 200 speed. I have a lot of setups with her, so she is so fun to use. Anytime I could try to, like, push myself to get a Zero Cycle with her, it's always the most fun. Very, very infuriating at times, but it is very fun. You know, I think they definitely cooked on her being the first limited. She was just such a good unit at E0. Unfortunately, it requires a lot of better investment and better playstyles to actually do good in the current meta. But the fact that she can still do really good in the right hands is great, and I do not regret any investment I did in her. Next up, we have Jade. So I did get E1 S1 Jade when she came out, back when everyone was like, oh, Jade sucks, Jade sucks. And I'm like, nope, she doesn't suck. You're just bad. People even trying to tell me that E1 Jade, you know, the fact that it enables her to be with single target characters was bad, and I'm like, you're just wrong. With follow-up team, she's insane, especially now with the Herda. She's insane. I don't even have the Herda, so that's something. Anytime I use her with the follow-up team back then, I used her with Feixiao now, I used her with Yunli now, and when she came out, I've done setups with other characters, you know, Anaxa now. It's just every time I've used her, she's never disappointed me. Especially with AoE buffers now, like, you know, we had Robin before she came out. We have Tribi now, especially, who increases her damage by a lot. Her fully AoE follow-up attack, especially when it's enhanced, just so much damage. The speed shenanigans you do get from her skill is also insane with that actual, what I have brief description on. You know, the actual 30 speed you do get. Using her with Blade, you know, there's so much fun stuff you can do. She was always good, and for some reason, everyone said she wasn't. And now look at her, one of the most valued units. I don't know what build I have on her right now, because I did shift around her Relics route. She has a little too much crit rate, but, you know, funny. Next up, we have Tribi. So I quite literally think no one will regret pulling Tribi. Probably, and not even probably, just is the best harmony support in the game, especially if you do have the E1, so I do have her S1. I did not want to get the Lycon and just keep her at, you know, S5 D to D, but I actually really like this Lycon. The fact that it lets you run HP roam for bigger damage, increasing her crit damage, and giving everyone a big 48% increase to crit damage is just insane. And not even stopping at E1, I went for E2. This actually is a very big notice when it does come to the additional damage and the instance. I think this dupe is overlooked a lot. Obviously, E1 is just a significantly better stopping point because this is probably the best dupe in the game. But this dupe is overlooked a lot and not talked about a lot. I don't regret getting this. I got this on a very early single, and I don't regret it. Saw my damage jump up by a few hundred Ks, and it's always been great. Tribi, just absolute insane unit. No regrets whatsoever. Castress, it's kind of hard to say. I don't necessarily regret getting her a Lycon. I was already on Guaranteed, so getting her was easy. One on the Lycon was pretty easy. Don't have any dupes because I didn't really care. I really like Castress in the story. She's a great character. But outside of certain videos and, you know, certain things I want to try, I really am not going to use her. So it's kind of weird for me to say I regret her because I don't feel like I regret pulling her, but I don't feel like I don't regret pulling her. So it's like I don't really have an opinion. It's kind of hard for me to say. Like, she's great. I just personally don't like using her that much. But, you know, the times and setups I can't do does make her fun, so I don't really know. It's going to take some time for me to have a decision on her. Blade. So, Blade, I did have E0 S1 for the longest time until I lost that one time on Anaxa to get his E1. Blade is one of my favorite characters. I still think he's really fun to use when you can get him to work, and especially when you have dupes in supports like I do, you can actually make him do pretty good damage. Especially now with his upcoming buffs, I think he's going to be so much more fun to play. In the earlier times, using him was great. He was probably my most used character besides Zele. And I honestly do have no regrets pulling him. For the early times of the game until, like, you know, around the 2.2-ish era when, like, you know, Boot Hill and stuff came out, so I didn't really have a reason to use Blade anymore. That's kind of when I stopped using him, so that's when he kind of, like, fell off. But now that he's getting buffed and he's able to use supports like Tribi now and actually do really good damage, I can't wait to actually start using him again and try some new setups with him. Especially when Jade came out, you were able to do that combination with him because he gained 2 stacks. That was also great. So, can't wait to try out all these new stuff. I already tried out practically everything we can, so if there's anything new discovered, can't wait to try that out. But, you know, when he does get buffed and actually hits real numbers, that's also going to be great. Feixiao, absolutely no regrets whatsoever. I got her Lycon, got her E2 on her original banner, no regrets. Even though I may be using her less, she still probably is like my most used DPS right now. I have no regrets. I love follow-up attacks. It's my favorite archetype in the game. Feixiao is also just a fantastic character, probably in my top 10 favorites. Using her, always fun. Follow-up team, probably still overall my favorite team. Just because I just love follow-up so much, and Feixiao just amplified that so much, you know, especially with the E2, making it easier to get her ultimate, E1 increasing her damage, Lycon insane, Feixiao as a base character insane, pairing her with Topaz, pairing her with March 7th Hunt when I tried that, pairing her with Jade. There's so much stuff you can do. The sustain on the team peak of Aventurine is so fire. Robin making everyone do great damage is also super good. I just love the team so much, and Feixiao is so fun to use, so no regrets whatsoever. Next up we have Aglia, so this is an interesting character. So technically I wasn't even supposed to have her. The way I got her was I was summoning for DDD, and the first multi I did for DDD, I got her Lycon, and I'm like, you know what, let me rip a multi used by Pity, because I had like 70 build Pity. Got her. Within a pack, I got E2. So that kind of just escalated really quickly. E1, you know, we all know how broken this is for her. And then E2, defense ignore, that's broken, especially with Sunday's E1. She is like my third favorite DPS to use right now. So fun, I have her on the 163 build. Her crit rate isn't that high, you know, if I can get 7% more, her crit damage is kind of low because Castris, Chibi, and Aglia, I didn't really farm their cavern that much, so she does have a build. She does have Glamoth because I never farmed Ban and Amusement. And I did dump a lot of Trailblaze power into it just to not get a single actual piece eventually, so I just kind of gave up. So she definitely still can be improved, which is crazy to me because she performs so perfectly and easily 0 cycles. But I definitely do think there is room for improvement, so I'm definitely going to try to go for that eventually. But no regrets. I'm so glad that mistake of pulling the Lycon did happen, so that led to me getting an E2 Aglia, and I absolutely love using her. Ranmei, you know, general support. She was on practically every team I used until we got more support options. Have her Lycon, which honestly I do kind of regret getting this Lycon. I'd much rather just keep her on DDD. I just haven't used her that much, so I just have the Lycon on her. I do have her E1. I got it on the rerun, which now that she's free, I do kind of regret wasting those pulls, but I guess I get to keep one of the free Golden Companion Spirits anyways, so technically it wasn't wasted. So not really much to regret here. Besides the Lycon, I do regret playing the Lycon, but for her E1, don't regret it. Then we do have Topaz. Do have her slightly lower on the crit rate side, but I do have her at a high speed and higher sided crit damage. Haven't updated her build in a while, but I do not regret getting her Lycon or her E1. She was always with my Feixiao. Never really used March, never really built moles over her. You know, Topaz was always my way to go. When she first reran, always had her with Ratio, and then Feixiao came out, always had her with Feixiao. Any follow-up team, she is on there, even though Cypher may technically outperform, not really when it comes to A2 Feixiao, but in some cases can outperform. I still will keep using Topaz because I also do love Topaz. So no regrets whatsoever for any investment on her. Next up we do have Fugue, which I do have her Lycon, and E2. She did come out when I was trying really heavy to get into like high speed tunings, S5 DDD setups and all that, and her E2 being DDD built into a dupe, I was like, why not? Thankfully I got really lucky on her, so it wasn't like a tragic experience, it did get it, but overall I do think I wish I just stopped at getting her E1 and also not even bothering with her Lycon. Her Lycon's good, but I wish I didn't really bother with it just because I don't really use Break anymore. This opinion will change once I do get someone like Rappa, because I do plan on getting Rappa when she reruns, if she does rerun at a good time where I could actually justify it, because the only break character I use right now is Boothill. So I don't really use Boothill much right now, so I don't really use Fugue byproduct of that. So once I get Rappa, it's probably going to change my opinion, but right now I do regret some investments. But again, once I do get Rappa and other break characters released, I probably will regret it a lot less. Yunli. So Yunli was one of my favorite characters to use for a while. Have her Lycon, do have her E2 when she did come out. E1 increasing the hits and also the damage, E2 giving the defense ignore. Her damage was insane. She was so fun, super great to 0 cycle with. She was just such a fun unit and such a significantly upgraded Clara. And I'll say a lot more with that with how her kit did work. I was actually really satisfied with her kit. She was a really fun unit to use, so I have absolutely no regrets getting her E2 or S1. I don't use her that much right now, but anytime I do use her, she does cook. So yeah, once again, no regrets. Robin. So I do have her S1, I have her E2. No regrets whatsoever. I actually didn't want to pull Robin just because I didn't really care about her, which still kind of holds true. I don't necessarily care about her too much, but she is just such a broken support, so that's the reason I didn't get her. Her 2 dupes are broken, especially the speed that the E2 gives, which is why I have it, rather than just stopping at the E1, which is the best stopping point, but the E2 with the speed setups was definitely helpful. The fact that she gives damage out, big attack, another turn, she just does so much for so many teams, so I could not really afford missing out on her. And I do not regret pulling anything out of these. Everything has done a great benefit. E1 was very noticeable when I got it on the rerun. E2, I am actually trying to remember what I got. Oh yeah, she did rerun twice. So I did get the E1 on her first rerun and then the E2 on the second rerun. And then I was able to do 160 plus speed setups and it was great. Every team she's on, she's great. No regrets. I'm going to cut these and just put Silverwolf here first just because I don't use her at all. The only reason I have this setup is just a quick relic farm setup, and I literally have lack of relics on her and level 0 Von Rock pieces just for her to implant for Anoxa to delete everything right away. I do regret getting her. I really don't use her, never really will use her, even if she does get, even with her buff, I probably won't use her too much. That might change, obviously, but for now, I really do regret getting her. Didn't really use her back when she was, like, you know, really good as well, so overall, do regret getting her. Anyway, Boot Hill. I do have him E1 and his Lycon, so that is also a higher investment. Do have him a 161 build with a lot of break effect, and I do not regret getting Boot Hill and his investments whatsoever. Boot Hill was my other, practically tied with Yunli for favorite DPSs, just because the break, watching the HP bar of bosses and elite enemies just melt the moment you do break was so goddamn satisfying. E1, great investment with you getting that extra pocket trick shot and also more defense ignore. There's so much defense ignore you can get with this guy. His light cone, insane as well. Even more defense ignore, increasing speed, and getting more break effect. The way this unit works is just so fun, and I have no regrets getting him. Sparkle, so she is missing some pieces. On average, I do have her on 161 speed build. But I do have her light cone, and E2 that I did get when she did come out. No regrets, she was used for the longest time, and is still used for me. I think she is definitely slept on. While Sunday is a significant upgrade in most places, I still do think that Sparkle is a little undervalued now. People think she's bad. 50% action forward is annoying, but she still is really good. That crit damage buff is insane. I guess I am a bit biased because the E2, you know, this giving you attack and this also giving you up to a, 24% defense ignore was always really good. You know, she practically revived my very free-to-play Donning IL back then as well. And I did use her for the longest time with Acheron, which technically I still do prefer using her with Acheron, just because if I have Acheron, I usually run her with Aventurine. So if I do have that team, her buffs are like somewhat AoE, so she can give everyone else the defense ignore as well, as opposed to Sunday, who is just that singular character. So she also did increase like Aventurine's damage and such, so that's why I do kind of like prefer using her over Sunday. But I have no regrets with her. And then the big two. So Aventurine was last year, so I'll start with him. The GOAT Aventurine. Obviously no regrets whatsoever. Still use them like practically on every team now to this day. Little bit less usage just because again I do sustain this, but you know, running him, not running him on like a follow-up team is honestly a damage loss because of how much mine does. I do have him S5 and E6, as most people do know. He is still my favorite Star Rail character, so that's the whole reason I do have the max primarily. So him being really good was the additive bonus of that. All his dupes also being good was another additive bonus. So I don't have regrets going for it. Again, he's such a fun unit to use. Turning him into a main DPS when he sustains, you know, sometimes being able to straight up out damage the main DPS if he gets enough follow-up attacks. His potential is still just so good. He is such a fun unit, and I still do not really have any regrets. Will anyone dethrone him as my favorite character? I have no idea. So I thought Anoxa would, but he didn't. But yeah, the other favorite character. So I do like Aventurine a lot more, but Anoxa is like my second favorite, like gapping everyone else. He is the other character I do also have the E6 of. I also have him S2. I will get S5 on his rerun. This guy is my favorite unit right now to use, like period. Watching him control or delete everything is just so goddamn satisfying. Favorite M40's character by far. Second favorite character by far. Favorite unit to use by far. Like, again, more than Aventurine when he came out. That's how fun this guy is. His skill is so satisfying. The sound effects is just so goddamn satisfying. His ultimate is really cool. The damage he does is just unparalleled. The double skill is just so good. He literally shreds through APOC, high scores on that. Easily max score pure fiction. 0 cycle MC in his sleep. The amount of testing I've done with this guy, E0 S0, E0 S1, E1 S1, 2, 4, 6, the amount of testing I've done every level, he's so good. And he is just by far my favorite character to use in the game. So I have absolutely no regrets going for that E6 as well. And yeah, that practically does wrap it up for the entire box with the thousands of dollars I've probably spent on this game. I honestly don't know the exact number, but it is definitely a lot. So I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of chill video, just be going over, you know, kind of reminiscing for me too. Sometimes I'll even forget I have a dupe in a unit that I don't use anymore. Like, I'll be like, oh yeah, I have E1 Black Swan. Yikes. But yeah, that does once again wrap it up. I hope you guys did enjoy it, and I'll see you later. Peace out.